People often get hung up in teaching their dog skills like sit, down, stay, come, loose leash walking. And those skills are helpful and they're important, but the truth is that they can be taught at any age, for any reason, at any point in your life with your dog. However, there are 5 things that you're not currently teaching your dog that are not obedience related that are going to be life-changing to your relationship with your dog. So if you want to learn those 5 things that you're not currently teaching your dog, but you should, let's get into it. The first thing you need to teach your dog is to solve problems. There needs to be a trial and error process where they are trying a couple things, failing, and then eventually trying something that works. That is the solution. Now, it is important that your dog fails sometime. While yes, I'm a positive dog trainer and I believe in giving our dog as much success as possible, I also believe in giving my dog enrichment. An ethological perspective will inform us and say that actually, dogs are very used to failing, right? We think about out in the wild, how often are they hunting for food and they fail? More often than not, an individual is hunting for food and doesn't actually capture the food, doesn't actually kill the food, doesn't actually get the chance to eat the food. There's odds are not really in their favor in the wild. Failure is a natural part and it's okay. If your dog has good confidence, good skill sets under their belt, then failure is not going to be a deterrent for them. It's just actually going to antagonize them to keep going. It's going to make them want to keep pushing to find that solution. So the first thing you need to do is present your dog with opportunities for him to investigate, for him to push things off to the side. The best way to do that is through food puzzles. So for example, you can give your dog a box that they have to figure out how to unwrap or tear apart or get to, because inside are juicy, yummy treats or juicy, yummy kibbles. You could give your dog something that they have to look for and they can't find it in the typical place. Maybe you're asking them to go find their favorite squirrely toy or their favorite blanket, and it's not typically in the place that it is. You've hidden it, right? They have to find these obstacles and work through them and navigate the situation. The key here is when you're presenting an opportunity for your dog to solve a problem, you are supervising, you are managing the level of difficulty. And if things are getting too awful, if things are going awry and your dog is feeling insecure, is quitting, is not feeling good about it, first and foremost, help your dog out, because don't let them feel like losers. But number 2, this is information for you. This tells you, okay, I need to be more mindful about the degree of difficulty that I'm presenting my dog right now. Because something too easy or too difficult can be really deleterious to the objective. We're looking for the Goldilocks effect, right? We don't want too easy, we don't want too hard, we want just right. That's the objective you want to have when you're creating these opportunities for your dog to problem solve is, am I following the Goldilocks rule? The next thing you want to teach your dog is impulse control. Specifically, you are teaching your dog that you are willing to trade them. Now, a lot of times I see leave it taught like, you can't have this, but wait just a second and then I'll pick it up and I'll give it to you, right? They like have the treat in front of the dog doesn't go for it, and then they pick it up and they hand it to the dog. This is ridiculous to me, because what it actually just teaches them is patience. And it's not that patience is a bad thing. Patience is wonderful. It's a wonderful life skill, and that's great. But it did not teach your dog impulse control. It did not teach your dog leave it. It did not teach your dog to be patient for a trade, that a trade, something else is coming. Now, for a definition of impulse control, and I realize that there are several different definitions of impulse control depending on what psychological book you're reading, but for this definition, we view impulse control as the denial of something in the hopes of something greater coming instead. While A is cool, B is better, and so I'm just not going to take A so that I get B, right? This is impulse control. It is the ability to control one's impulses or compulsion towards something. So we really want to be thinking, how can we get our dogs to deny something they actually want because they know that if they do, they will be able to get something they like more instead. This is a trade. When I teach clients with basic skills, one of the things I have them do when I teach leave it is to use the phrase, I'll trade you instead. And instead of just leave it or a harsh no or whatever, I'll have them literally say, I'll trade you instead, because it's a reminder to them and eventually to the dog that this is just about, hey, I'm trading you. You can't have that. That thing is not for you. But if you deny your compulsion to have that thing, because I know it's hardwired into you to like that thing, you want to chase that squirrely, you want to pick up the food on the floor, you want to jump on the counters, you want to do whatever. If you do those things, you will be feeding into your compulsions, feeding into your impulses, and if you deny those things instead, you will actually benefit something greater. Now, I do have a full tutorial on how to teach your dog leave it using the methodology I just explained. I'll link it right here. It's also in the description box below, and you can check that out next. The next thing that you should be teaching your dog that you are not is teaching your dog arousal control. Arousal control is different than impulse control, because impulse control tells them that, hey, I want that thing, I'm gonna go get that thing. Arousal control is slightly different, such that what arousal actually is that the body is aroused. There's adrenaline, there's the heart rate is pumping a lot of blood, the body is amped, and they're moving, and they're just like vibing, right? But the individual, the dog, is still able to regulate that excitement and not let it get to a point where they are unruly or can't be managed because they're just like aloof and gone, right? We need to get them to a place where, I like to use the runner's analogy, right? People who like to go running are running really fast. They're usually running, especially distance running, they're running for a very long time. Their body is pumping adrenaline. Their body is pumping a lot of blood. Their body is definitely in fight, flight, or freeze to a certain extent, and yet their brain is still safe, right? Their brain is still like, we're running with intention. We're running with purpose. We're running comfortably, right? We're still logic. We're still thinking. This is how you want to think of arousal control. You're getting your dog to a place where they are amped and excited and everything, but they're still able to control it and manage that and stay in the thinking part of the brain. So there are a couple different techniques that you can use to teach arousal control. The one that I recommend you do right now is called the ABC game, which I will link right here, and I will also link it in the description box below. The ABC game is really cool because it teaches them to get silly, get excited. They really love the singing. We sing the ABCs to them. That's really the gist of it. We sing, we dance, we throw a party, but we're also reinforcing them for partying in a reasonable manner, right? Partying without the excessive hoopla. Now, as an inverse to teaching your dog the arousal control, you also want to teach your dog the relaxation protocol. A relaxation protocol is a methodology to teach your dog to self-soothe, to be very aware and become very observant of what they need to do to actually get comfortable and lay and feel good. This is actually way harder than it seems. And the reason is because if you're doing it correctly, what you're actually trying to do is get your dog to observe the steps that they're taking to decompress. So in the same way that one may know, a human may know, if I hold on to a stress ball, I'll feel better. Or if I, twitch my finger, I'll feel a little bit better. Or if I just go get coffee, I'll feel a little bit better, right? In a way that one may know certain things that they need to do to help themselves feel safer or more comfortable or more relaxed or whatever. That's basically the intent behind teaching your dog a relaxation protocol. You're teaching them that maybe they just need to go to a specific place. They need to go to their bed. Or maybe they need to lay on a specific hip, right? Maybe they always prop up on their hip and they need to actually just slouch into their hip, and that's going to be a more relaxed position. You're literally getting them to become aware of these very subtle things that are going to relax them, soothe them. And to do this, you can look into Karen Overall's relaxation protocol. You can also look into Relax on the Mat. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube. I don't personally have one on my channel, but if you just look into a dog relaxation protocol or Relax on the Mat, you will definitely get a good body of them. In my current work with my dog liaison clients, we teach them a relaxation protocol that I created called Be a Dog, and you can find all of the details on how to work with us in the description box below if you're interested. The next thing that you need to teach your dog that you probably aren't very clear about in teaching your dog currently is communication. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Jenna, everything is communication, and you're right. Just teaching your dog sit is a communication, yes. But let's get a little bit more nuanced than that, okay? When I say I want you to teach communication, what I actually want you to express to your dog is that you are in a dialogue with them. They are not just supposed to listen to you. You are supposed to listen to them. Imagine if a conversation was only one-sided and you weren't aware of what your dog was saying to you, or you weren't observant of what your dog needs or what your dog was seeing or feeling in a space. That is very frustrating, right? So a good practice for you is to think about how often you are very clearly aware of what your dog is saying, very clearly aware of what your dog needs. A good practice is how often are you actually practicing listening to your own dog? And if you notice that your dog is listening to you far more than you're listening to them, that's a red flag that you are not in a two-way conversation, that your communication can continue to improve. Understanding basic dog behavior skills, even the stress signals, not these overt lunging, barking, undesired behaviors, but the more subtle ones of discomfort or confusion or desire even, right? Understanding these more subtle behaviors is transformative in you being able to communicate effectively with your dog. Now, I do have a full breakdown in dog behavior, specifically stress signals. You can watch that here. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit like, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video, and I'll see you guys next week.